welcome to the podcast, Damo.
Thank you, mate, for having me. Lovely to be here.
I appreciate you making the trip all the way down to the GC.
Up to the GC.
Yeah, I always forget that. Well, it does feel like you're coming up, right? It is the Gold Coast. So, look, mate, what I'd love to do, let's kick it off and jump straight in. I'd love to know a little bit about your business now.
Yeah.
You know, where is it at? The team, the offices, the size. There's been some massive growth. So let's set the scene with what does Entourage look like now?
Yeah, so I think sometimes I need to calculate in my head the staff members. Not so much because we're hiring so many staff or buying businesses, but we've got a lot of females that would come back from mat leave and leave, but we count them all. So I think I counted before I came here. So we're 35.
Yeah, wow.
So 33 onshore, 2 offshore.
Yeah.
And we're going through a process at the moment to buy another business down through Vincent's Entourage Mornington.
Okay.
And so that will probably add about 2 or 3 more. So at some stage in there, you know.
And so office locations.
Yep.
I'm trying to keep up. It's a struggle, right? And so Melbourne. So Vic.
4, yep. 4 offices, head office in Cremorne or Richmond, where you've been. That holds the majority of them. We've got an office in Mornington, which Vincent Moore kind of heads up, which he's got like 5 or 6 in there, which is a beautiful new space down the water there. Just kind of went down there last week. I work out of the Byron office, and Candice kind of heads that up now. And we'll just open one in Brisbane at the end of last year in James Street, the lovely James Street.
Yeah, very exciting.
So 4 offices in total.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So that's good.
And there's some other arms to the business as well, you guys do?
Yep. We diversify into that property advisory.
Yep.
So Antoinette Sagaria heads that up as a buyer's advocate.
Yeah.
I've always had a buyer's advocate since I started broking almost 20 years ago with buyer's advocacy. So I'm very big on property. Yeah. So I've always had that side-by-side finance property piece. Yeah. We've just got asset finance, so really pure asset finance that Sarah Ingram does that, and she does all the cars, the business loans,
and how
etc.
How is that to the business?
That's only been 4 months. It's something that we've been thinking about for years, but just needed that right person to just be dedicated to that one thing. Yeah. Our brokers who
a specialist.
The resi, we're good at resi. They just didn't want to, veer into the cars for some reason or asset finance. They want to stick to their lane. So Sarah's purely asset. She's a weapon. These car finance people, they just have to, they call so quickly and they get deals done. They're just so quick on the phone. So it's a different beast to some of the other resi brokers.
Yeah, okay. And so we've got mortgage brokers with the residential side.
Yep.
We've got the property advisory and asset finance.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And we obviously do commercial development loans within the,
within the space. Yeah. Okay. Let's take it back. This is the fun stuff for me, right? So what about like before broking? What did that look like? What was your first job?
That's the first job. So I'm a country boy from Sale. So Sale's in Gippsland. And it's a big country town, like 15,000. Dad worked for ExxonMobil, which is a big oil company down there. So we moved around a little bit, but Sale, my first job, I was 10 years old. And it's funny when I've got an 11-year-old and that, I'd never do what my parents let me do. So I ran the football scoreboard. Country footy in the 90s was pretty rough. So I did the thirds, the reserves, and the seniors. So that's a 9 till 5 job. Imagine these old scoreboards where I can't reach, I'm only 10, and you got to put these big things, and you're kind of reverse engineering 6 goals to add up to. So I was probably good with good numbers then. Getting abused by drunken people all day long. I got paid $30 and a can of Coke and a hot dog at halftime. So did that for about 2 years, from 10 till 12. And I guess, that hard work that the parents kind of had in the country and has always been in me. Then I had probably 4 jobs, I think, in high school at one stage when I was probably 15, 16. And, I've really just always been working to try and earn money and, push along. But it's always been it's a pretty funny story when I think about our kids, how protective we are. I just go down to this scoreboard, it was not a great time getting abused as a 10-year-old from drunken larrikins all day long.
The old man was probably like harden up, right? There's good lessons in that.
Well, my uncle kind of ran the club, so he gave me the job. And I thought $30. $30 I would have been.
$30 is big money.
In 1992. So 92, earning $30 a week, I was the richest kid going around. So yeah.
And what about before broking? Where was it banking? Were you sort of uni? What happened there?
No, never really had a full-time job. So I'm a bit of in 2006, I started broking. So Feb 1, 2006. And it would just come off the Australian Open in Melbourne. Yeah. So I did that kind of corporate hospitality from when I was 17 to probably after uni. Yeah. So I did uni. I didn't really have a full-time job through uni. And then I used to run the Heineken bar, which anyone who'd been to the Australian Open was the fun part of the Australian Open. And that was a great time of the year. I might have given a couple of beers away to a guy who was a mortgage broker. He was one of my brother's friends. And he just had a great time. He said, "You're pretty good with people and you're, hard working." He knew me from sale as well.
Yeah.
And he started me off after the Australian Open, I started Feb 1st, after tennis. So
okay.
As a broker, as an employee broker in Hawthorn.
Yeah.
And just picked it up. At the time, it was probably before you were a broker, like it was quite.
It was actually,
yeah.
Record.
So 2006, it's quite a newish industry still.
Yeah.
A lot of old men, if I can say that, not many females in the industry. And I was very young. So I was 23 in the inner suburbs of Melbourne. And I was quite unique. And I think luckily when I look back, kids were starting, wealthy kids from the schools around that inner Melbourne were starting to buy their apartments, in their mid-20s, probably with family help. And they were buying $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 apartments. Yeah. And I'd probably just ridden that wave to them buying, the $3, $4, $5 million homes in their 40s. So I just kind of was lucky to get into that role at the time because there wasn't many young people doing it. And I would use social media and Facebook and try just everything I possibly could. Yeah. And, became pretty good at it. Yeah. I became MPA top 100, which is for 46 million.
Well, I tried to do the bio and I ran out of lines when it came to the amount of awards that you won. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pause on the bio.
Yes.
And then so from there into Entourage, when did that happen?
So I did 4 years of that company, like I said, and then we wanted to go to London. So I moved to London in 2010 with my fiance. Yeah. And then came back 18 months later and started a business called iProperty Plan with Mark Armstrong. And we did that for about 3 years. But the good thing about these guys was I had the option to go the other place and take a cushy salary or have a startup with guys that had this vision, this crazy vision, which I like crazy visions, and probably earn no money. And I had 3 mortgages, so I needed money. I smartly took this job. And then they had this other little website they were building at the time. Yeah. It was a property tipping contest at the time, which didn't go anywhere, but then they started rating my agent. So I got equity in that as well as the mortgage broking business. And then we did that for 3 years. Hume started straight away. So I've had this guy since 2012 we are up to now. And then this rate my agent started to build and build and build. So these guys go, we got to put all our focus into that, the 2 property advocates. Yeah. And then Entourage was started in 2015.
Yeah, right. And sort of day one, week one, what did that look like, Entourage? What was your role in the business? Just you or Hume?
No, it was with you. It was just me in 2015 and Hume and my brother-in-law, Brett, who's the videographer, and he did some operations for us at the time. Yeah. He left for almost 6 or 8 years and he's doing some work for us now, but it was just the 3 of us in a little warehouse next to the new office where we are now.
Yeah, right.
And Cremorne was cool at the time. It was up and coming. Yeah. So we liked that space and just doing deals. And then when did you start, Matt? When did you start working?
2010.
2010. So yeah.
Clearly started when I was like 19 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Only 32 now actually. Right. But then we had a really good year. I think that 17 was a really good year. Did over 100 mil, which was that epic mark that you always wanted to do.
Big number back then. Still a big number now, to be fair.
Yeah. And then I hired, then 2017 went an absolute hire. So I started December 1, 2015. Then by Jan 2017, so only like 1 year really by itself, I went on a bit of a hiring spree. I hired Nicole, Chantel, Vinny, Crystal, Michaela, and even Krista Malcolm from Bank of Melbourne. So I hired 6 people. I thought, I'm going really well here. I was a bit confident and I've always wanted to grow and, grow this business. I thought, well, broking, like you think you go on a trajectory like this all the time because I've got existing clients and I know we get most of our deals from existing clients. So I figured we're going to keep growing. And then 2008, it was the bloody Royal Commission. It was like, oh shit, what have I done here? So, and I signed a lease for this big office next door. So that was looking back at whether it was a mistake or not, it all worked out, but geez, we were pretty rough at the time because, I paid myself I was the least paid that year in 18, I think, because the market that was the election year as well, if you remember. Yeah. Labor was going to get in. Everyone was just not doing anything. I'd committed to a huge space of a fit out. And
I think that's fairly common, right? As a business owner, you're always the last to get paid.
Oh, that's my mentality, right?
And so the plan then was really, it was always, I'll ask the question, was the plan always to be that big? Was it to grow at that speed when you started? Looking at where you are now and you go back to day one?
I don't really remember like day one thinking I want to have 30 people. Yeah. I know I want to grow a brand. My whole thing has always been a brand, and that's sacrificing sometimes your personal income, because it's very easy to be a broker with lots of admin and just do deals, but give away your leads to brokers so you build them up and come with you.
Yeah.
So it's not always reliant on you. And that has allowed me to, I know how to be a broker still, but it has allowed me to do other things to grow the business in those other areas, those other locations.
Yeah.
And that was probably always my thing. I used to read a lot of books around, whether it's those Googles and Facebook offices, how cool they were.
Yeah.
And that comes with the office in Cremorne. I want to build the coolest office, I think.
Yeah.
So make people want to come to work.
Yeah. Create the environment.
That backfired in Melbourne. And that was terrible. That took us 2 or 3 years to, do the fit out. The builders had to build the 8 levels, and then it was the best vibe. October 2019, we moved in. We were into the racing season. We had Christmas parties. It was just a vibe. It was so much fun. And then the next year, we went into COVID, and I'd been in
Jan and Feb, all gone.
No, we were Jan and Feb. Then March we were just done. So 5 months in there, and then probably 2 years of just not being in there.
Nothing.
And full paying rent. Had to pay the full rent
to make the whole way through. And I'll come to that. I'm curious to unpack a little bit about what that actually did to the business during COVID. But if we talk a lot about that sort of broker to brokerage, right, in our conversations, and I think a lot of businesses over these last few years in particular have grown just rapidly. We've gone from 4 staff to 14 in the matter of 18 months, 2 years. That happens really quick. Like, how did you find that transition going from like be 0, 2 people to 30. Yeah. What's that journey been like to you?
It's been hectic. It's as I say to my wife, and she knows I'm never not on. It's because I'm still trying to be an advisor. So, I'm still trying to do deals, and I've still got an existing book I've done over $1 billion. So that people still call you mobile. I don't, unlike you, who every time I try to call you, it goes to reception. I should try that, but people still got my phone number. So, and because they're clients that I've dealt with, I still want to talk to them. So the journey's been hard, and I think I've just managed to put key people around me. I've done that mentality. I'm actually good at broking. I may not be good at, the operations or the marketing. Yeah. So I've had people do those roles for me.
Okay, cool.
And I rely on them, and they're we call it the leadership group in the business, who have got equity in the business and all these things to make my job a little bit easier, because I still like dealing with clients and going out to like win business and referral partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate all the legal work and dealing with accountants and lawyers, which I get bogged into sometimes.
Yeah.
So I try to get rid of that stuff and build the team around you so I can keep, bringing in business, which is the fun stuff.
And I guess that probably answers some of that question I had around the biggest learnings on that journey, right? And so very quickly and very early, your model, if we talk about the different models that exist in broking in particular, and, it can be the CSM model, which is the one-man band with a whole lot of support. And very quickly for you, it was that leadership model and going into the brokerage model. And so the learnings there probably early were to get those people around you, sort of focus on what you're good at and pass off the rest.
And like Hume's the best example. He's been with me 13 years, he's students. So we've only been going, Entourage only been going 10 years. So he's obviously with me before that as well. So I quickly realized how good he was, and I, gifted him equity in the business from the start. Yeah. Not the start, like halfway through, because I couldn't lose him. He just was so good. He's worth 10 CSMs basically.
Yeah.
And then, when I had good brokers come in who, were pretty bullish, I'll say Vincent Moore.
Vinny will absolutely be tuning in. Yes.
Because but he was good. He goes, if I do this, I want to do my own thing. Yeah. So he bought into the business at some stage and then started his own franchise. He just had that vision that he wanted to be. So I've been very open, very flexible, listen to what they wanted as well, which is not always the right thing to do, but, kept them all around me. And we haven't
even harnessed that, right? You've got to harness that energy, right? Because you try and put a lid on it. Someone like a Vinny who's sales driven and wanted, or they're either going to do it with or without you. Yeah, right.
And that's the thing. People like business owners lose really good brokers who are doing. If you do 100 mil, there's not many 100 mil brokers who are employees.
Yeah,
and so that's why you've got to. Well, you want to keep this guy, and he's great for the brand, and he's a weapon at the moment. Top 100 for this year as well. So there's not many of them like him. So. And then what I was going to say, like with, Antoinette who came in, she's a shareholder in that business. And then
that's a property advisor.
That's her business. Yeah. And having her, and Sarah runs her business, Vinny runs. So I'm kind of getting, there's probably 5 different businesses, which everyone's got ownership in, and they run it. Yeah. Otherwise you get spread too thin, I think, if you're trying to run everything. Like
every part of it.
They're so passionate about their own business, like you are, like I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their own business under the one brand.
Yeah, skin in the game.
And I've just got that from real estate. I look in Melbourne and, you know, dealing with a lot of real estate agents, if there's a good agent, they kind of lock them down as a partner very quickly.
Yeah.
I think the other states, it takes a little bit longer to lock in partnership. But in Melbourne, that was the model where, you know, if you're good and you're young and you're doing, you know, good GCI, we'll give you like, it might only be 1 or 2%, but it's of the bigger group.
Well, even if their role in that is to stay as a writer, having ownership in that is to your point about locking them down, doesn't mean they suddenly need to be a business owner and worry about too heavy about the P&Ls and take over the day-to-day management. Yeah. But it's skin in the game. They're building something for themselves as well as the business.
And that's a good point. We've got another guy who's, you know, doing really well, probably do 100 mil. And the same offers for him, but he goes, I'm pretty happy with, you know, just doing my PAYG. No, you don't have to worry about the staff. I can go overseas for a month if I want, and I'm happy with that. He might take a very big salary, but he doesn't want the hassles of a business like we do. So
the flexibility.
Everyone's different. Everyone's different. So we've just been very accommodating to see how they fit in. We just want to make sure when we bring people in, there's a career path. Yeah. And we've got to make sure that if you want to become from CSM to analyst to broker, we've got to support that. Yeah. And that's the environment that everyone's supported. And, you know, the sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do, we've just got to get behind you. Some people just like their day-to-day job.
Yeah. And there's no right or wrong in that, right? It's to your point, having a pathway for that journey for them. Yeah. You know, you're open, you're flexible, but case by case, it's going to be different. You know, whether that's employee, whether that's contractor, that's always going to change.
Because the broking role is not for everyone. Like, we're on all the time, you know, we don't stop at 5 p.m. Yeah. Whereas sometimes the CSM, like, they do a great job. They're on 5 p.m. We switch off. You might switch off.
Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah. So our minds are wired differently. Yeah. But I love it. It's great.
Yeah. And the business wouldn't run without all of those different positions. That's right. Different minds and
the different players in every team. So
yeah. And one thing you guys do really good, obviously, is culture, is environment. You know, I know it's a word that's thrown around a lot, right? And I don't know if it's, you know, beanbags in the room. You talk about digital and those offices, and kudos to the work you've done. Obviously, that the environment, not only from a physical environment, those offices, I have been there, very much enjoyed that, but also from that culture and what you created within the team. Like, what are some of the big keys to success there when it comes to, because it's not just culture or an environment for a team, it's high performance too. You guys are writing you know, big numbers, and there's multiple teams within the business and multiple business. Like, what are some of the big keys there?
I think it probably drives for me because I like to have fun, as you know.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, whether it's an event or a lunch or, you know, we've done the tennis we just did the tennis again. Yeah. So it is just, you know, we work so hard and the guys work really hard that I like to reward them with, you know, things, and whether it's, you know, the tennis or an event or something that they don't get to go to often. Yeah. I think we're very lucky. We get to go to a lot of fun stuff being the brokers and take that. Yeah. So we like to, so we like to kind of reward especially the admin, the CSMs, who I think they're the heart of the business. Yeah. And we've kind of reinvented with the culture, we've kind of made the CSMs almost the heroes more so than the brokers a little bit.
Yeah.
So when we do for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 or 4, the CSMs have won like the broker, the core values award generally. Yeah. And then at the monthly, we have a monthly catch up. This is from Ray White, actually. They brought everyone into the office, and we'll get into like COVID in a sec, how everyone's COVID. Yeah. Once a month, we bring everyone in and do like a monthly awards. Yeah. And celebrate kind of 3 different aspects of the CSMs or analysts, more so than the brokers. So
I love that.
And then from the awards point of view, I think we've had at least six, maybe 7 of the CSMs kind of win the awards. You know, and I think I'm the only broker individual that's won an award, but we've probably had 3 CSMs, 4 CSMs win an award, and then the other 2 have been finalists. So we've had more CSMs win awards than brokers. So it's changing that mindset, because like I said, they're the ones that make the brokers look good. That's what I've always created or wanted to create, is brokers, get out there, don't look at documents, don't do the stuff that can get bogged down on, get a dream team behind every single broker. Yeah. And by doing that, by creating these, you know, it gives them something like a culture to, you know, winning an award is really cool. I can see many that you've got over here, but that's you.
Is it positioned accordingly? Yeah.
So the culture is like trying to flip it on its head a little bit. Forget the events, but trying to make the CSMs as the heroes as well. Yeah. In their business has been a real big focus over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And we've got really good CSMs and analysts in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and you touched on it before, and not to bring the pain points back up, but obviously through COVID, like that was huge for you guys. You invested a whole lot to get to where it was just from the office side of things.
Yeah,
I mean, park that to the side, but that's part of it. But then it's no surprise. Well, Victoria wore the brunt of that. Yeah. Right. And what would you that like?
6 days off.
I think it was 3. It was 6 days combined over 2 3-day periods. So it was tough.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
Yeah. So, but how did that change maybe the way the business was run?
Oh, look, that was It's funny when you look back on it. We the first lockdown was 110 days in a row, and it was a bit of a novelty at the time. But the only positive thing, we were crazy busy. So like the guys were working probably 8 p.m. every night. Deals were getting done. We could work remotely, which was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I remember the culture. Every Friday night we'd do like a different event. You have cocktail making, you have a magician, you have all this crap. Loan Market did a fair bit as well.
Yeah, it was cool.
And it was the second year, they were like, it's just good. We were just not, they were all over it by the second year. But because we did so well, it just kind of consolidated the group, and all those groups are still together.
Have you found bringing the guys back into the office? Was there any challenges?
It's a challenge, yeah. It's because you get. I love the office. I built the office to build it, to get everyone in there and have collaborate. And I feel personally, I think with a lot of industries now, kids working from home, I say kids, younger people, they won't learn as much sitting at home as they will in the office. Like I used to sit in meetings when I was 23. I'd sit with the 2 senior guys, the buyers advocate in a meeting, and listen and just learn. That's how I became, I think, who I am. And then like in the office, you hear the brokers talk, sales talks, and you learn by osmosis. But now people love to work at home 2 days a week. So we allow it. We're kind of 3 days in the office is what we want. If you want more, that's great. But yeah, I think people have come back and they're just like, people are hearing me speak. They got used to just being by yourself. And
well, it's hard from the CEO, right? The chief energy officer, right? When you're walking into that office every day and you're trying to bring 15, 20 people together. I just really struggled to do that remotely, and it just wasn't an environment I felt comfortable with, that I thought was us running at our best.
It's hard. Our Monday morning meetings, there's probably half in the office and half not. So I find that hard to motivate people. And, you've got to be always on, like chief energy officer.
Yeah, correct.
But it is hard remotely. So I don't I was always a face-to-face kind of guy.
Yeah.
I used to know all my clients really well because you'd sit with them like this. When we went through COVID and you'd be on the screen, you're just transacting so much because we're so bloody busy.
Yeah.
You'd see that guy, Damien, how you going? Thanks, mate. And I'd be like, hey, buddy, how are you? And you kind of lost that touch where I could almost always recite, you bought this house for this much, you got this much debt, and how's your kids?
Yeah.
But you'd have a lot closer relationship.
There's such a line, I know now for us, the amount that we do online and promoting that it is a digital experience, right? Yeah. And the convenience that creates and all of the things it does for the client. But then, there's that trade-off that you're not sitting in front, and building that relationship, that depth.
So I just do that over lunches now.
Yeah, correct.
Take them out for lunch.
Yes. Well, actually, it's probably segues into marketing. We're going to talk about building a brand, but firstly, a great one is just Entourage, the name.
Yeah.
As an Ari Gold fan,
it's the TV show, but when I was we had an amicable split with the other business partners, had to decide on a name, and it's really hard to decide on a name. You want to try and find the domain, and this was 2015, so every pretty much domain name is gone. The movie, so it wasn't the TV show had finished, the movie was on at the time.
Yeah.
And I had like My Entourage, I could get myentourage.com.au, and then randomly I found, so the movie just finished and a Sydney agency had nothing, they'd done the publicity for it, and they were selling the domain entourage.com. I'm like, .au. I said, that's good. If I can get that, that's awesome. So I said, they wanted $5,000 for it, which is not much. And they said, I'll give you 4. And they said, yes, straight away. And so that I love the domain name, having the entourage.com.au it was pretty good in 2015 to get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the meaning of it though is like a band of people surrounding an important person. So it actually works from our point of view where we've got different services, we've got a team around you always, and you're the Vinny Chase.
Yeah.
And we're your little turtle and everyone behind you. So So it actually works from a marketing perspective as what we're trying to do, and especially when we build out the different services around the client.
I think included.
It's actually perfect.
Yeah, I love it. And you guys have, we talk about building your own brand. It's obviously something you guys do exceptionally well and have done, and absolutely in the industry, in the market, it's one that we look up to.
Yeah.
What would be some of the tips for someone trying to start out? So we talked about, growing, building a brand. Like, what were some of the tips you'd give?
Oh, look, it's, I think the name was pretty bold to do it. And, you go in your head, geez, are you doing the right thing? Is you think of all the negative things that could come from a brand name. So, but it was going to stand out, I think. So I go for a standout name that people are going to recognize.
Yeah.
Richard Branson's a big inspiration. I love Virgin. Think about Virgin when you think about what Virgin is over here, but we think about Virgin as a brand. So I think that was the first thing I wanted to do. And then I wanted to try and do things differently from, like I said, when I started, finance was pretty boring, old man bankers.
Yep.
And so we would use social media at a very early time. But then I wanted to start doing events. Like we started this ladies' lunch 10 years ago. I'd take people to the President's Fund football. Then I reached out to, on just DM, Josh and Elise Knowles, who had just won the block, who have become good friends and clients. And we've done lots together since then. We've had the Dacos boys. So I've done the influencer thing as a finance company, which I think is pretty rare.
Yeah.
And then get them to promote your brand.
Yeah.
Another great one is like Joey Scandizo is a hairdresser who's been with me for 15 years, always gives us whatever we want. Yeah. He gives us everything. So he's been a really good supporter. And so we get these guys, I won't mention all of them, but, they kind of go through and, help our business grow.
Yeah, cool.
During that COVID time, one thing we did, which was really good, because we're all in lockdown, it was Tuesday night, wine night, and we'd get one of these celebrity clients on every kind of Tuesday and have a glass of wine.
I do remember sitting through that actually, and I'd throw a couple of little cheeky questions in on that.
Oh, that was actually really good. We sometimes think we should bring that back, but I think it was a COVID thing when everyone was just sitting at home and nothing else to do.
Yeah. But that's doing something when most are doing nothing.
Doing different. Yeah. And with Apple, like I think, again, I read all these books about when the GFC happened, I think Apple said everyone kind of pulled their marketing budgets, and we could have pulled our marketing budgets after COVID, but we've kept doing everything consistently every month with the SEO and everything we do from a marketing point of view, we've kept it up.
Yeah.
When times, when you could pull back spending because you're not making as much as what you were in COVID.
Yeah.
But it's like when Apple went through GFC, he didn't pull back like everyone else. I think he doubled down.
Yeah.
And this is 2007, 8. And so then you look at what Apple's done in the last 15 years. So I kind of read all these Branson Apples and, nowhere near those kind of brands, but from a very micro level, do little things that might...
Success leaves clues, right?
And that's the expensive part of it all. Like you keep doing all these things and keep spending money to build that brand. So that's one thing my accountant says, you spend a lot of money. But it's fun.
It's all marketing. Yeah,
it's fun though.
Yeah,
we've had a good ride so far.
Yeah, cool. And look, I guess in closing, I had a question there, and if with the knowledge that you now have, if we had to start a new business tomorrow, let's call it Entourage 2.0, for the purpose of, what would you do different? Is there anything, or what would you do differently?
Yeah, like look, I'm a believer in what I've done. I don't have any regrets. I've done things that haven't worked, and I've tried things that's been part of what I've done. So I have that mentality that not to look back on the past and what you could have done better. But if I was to start again, look, there's one thing that kind of keeps me up at night, and it's technology. Yeah. And and CRM systems and stuff. So I would whether I create my own, which is custom to me, because I've looked at so many different systems that aren't right for my marketing, aren't right for my client retention, aren't right for my clients. So that's one thing that I would, want to do better. Yeah. And I'd want to be better. I'd train myself better to have better time management. Yeah. So I think I think a lot of humans we're the worst at time management, to block out times and do that. So that would be my two things. The keeps me up at night is the CRM system. Yeah. And personally, I'd want to be better at, committing to, the prospecting, the referrals, and, that I think if I did that, I'd be a 10 times better kind of broker. Because
and how would you, just to throw one on the end of that, knowing that there are a lot of people that are going to be listening, and when we do get to interact with some great businesses, and we're constantly wanting to not necessarily even reinvent, but keep the energy running at the pace that you do. Like, what is there some things in there that you do around energy management? I mean, other than moving to Byron Bay from Victoria.
Yeah. That was a good move. So like this morning, was on the beach at 6 o'clock watching the sunrise over the lighthouse, and had a little quiet time by myself, and then had a little dip and a coffee. So because it is always go. I've got 3 kids as well, so life is pretty hectic without the throwing in the broker in the business. Yeah, but there's no. I'm not a meditator. I've got an ice bath at home, but I'm not going to say that I'm constantly in the ice bath. Yeah, I like to exercise here and there, but I'm not like the property guys that we listen to on the podcast. They're up at 5. They do the ice bath. There's no secrets. So I'm pretty lucky that I don't know. My mind just I don't know if I've got ADHD or something, but it's always on. And I love the chase. Yeah, I love looking at that phone and saying there's another deal there. That's probably my drug at the moment. To get deals in. That's the energy. Getting more deals and seeing the biggest thing I get to kick off now is seeing Candace and Vinny and all the other brokers in the team kind of thrive and go better. That's my vision now. Well, my goal to get them going. Yeah. We've got a great team, Nick, Natalia, Kat, Leah, they're all just killing it. And now we've got the new breed coming. We might have a few new brokers kind of coming through. Yeah. And so that's kind of what drives me now to keep them coming through the ranks and getting them on the awards. And that's the evolution side of the business. So, and I don't know if I'll get off the tools just yet, but it's too fun. 2025. Okay. Interested. No, Damo, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate the chat as always. Yeah. Some great insights in there and look forward to seeing what's ahead for the year. Thanks for having me, mate. Good to see you. Cheers. Bye.